Hello and welcome to Vidwan Sarvatra Pujate. I am Sat Parashar. We decided to talk to some scholars who moved out of India and distinguished themselves wherever they went. The objective was that the young people can listen their life story, can listen their life journey, and it may help them to be inspired. If you have been in business, you must have come across TIE, the Indus Entrepreneurs, the largest global mentoring network for Indian entrepreneurs in Silicon Valley and around the world. I have the honor of presenting to you today the co-founder of TIE. He is Mr. Kanwal Singh Rekhi. Mr. Rekhi is currently a partner at the Investors Capital Partners. The Investor Capital is an investment banking firm. Mr. Rekhi was the first Silicon Valley Indo-American founder and CEO to take a venture-backed company public on the Nasdaq. In the 1990s, Mr. Rekhi became high-profile venture angel while co-founding and leading TIE. Mr. Rekhi has co-invested and worked with his dear friend John for 20 years, and they founded Investors in 2007 to institutionalize their high conviction early stage approach, what they love to call seed to success, to help founders build category defining companies. Mr. Kanwal Rekhi is a multi-billionaire. More than that, he is a fatherly figure to many successful entrepreneurs of South Asian region in the USA. Welcome, Rekhi sir, and thank you for giving me time. I'm sure that this discussion is going to be very inspiring for my listeners. To begin with, my question would be that would you please briefly tell us about your years in India before you moved to US? I mean, your parents, your family, your schooling, etc.
So I moved in 1967. It's almost to the day I came on my birthday 58 years ago to US. I was only 22 at the time. And, I had a pretty ordinary childhood. A refugee family. I was born in Rawalpindi, just before the partition, in 1945. So family moved to India in 1947. My father, he was in the army, during the war, and at the time of independence, he got that emergency commission. But the British were leaving. The whole ranks of the army were empty, so he became a second lieutenant. At the time of independence, and so we moved to India in 1947. Moved around a lot. From Pakistan, we came into Firozpur, down to Secunderabad, down to Pune, and to Agra, and eventually settled in Kanpur in 1954.
Okay.
So first 8-9 years of my education was homeschooling. My grandfather would teach me, if you use the word, Hisab, and Rezi, and I mean, so it was homeschooling till about 4th or 5th grade, and then and then I started. I think I started in 5th grade. That was my first time in school. And so, but I was still very young. For 5th grade. So by the time I finished my high school, in 1959, I was only about 13 or 14 years old. And so I had to do my intermediate. It's all in Kanpur now, in Hindi medium schools. And luckily I got into IIT in 1963. And it was total surprise to everybody because there was no history of education in the family. My father had a only up to high school. My grandfather only had up to high school. Yeah, not even high school, 10th grade, right? 10th grade. And and that set me up for life. 4 years at IIT and then straight to US.
Beautiful. Uh, One question of mine is that, oh, you are son of a refugee of 1947.
Mm-hmm.
And I can imagine, I'm also son of a refugee.
Mm-hmm.
And therefore, I can imagine, I mean, the kind of difficulties those people faced and what were the values they carried with themselves. No? Now, would you please briefly tell us that how did you distinguish yourself in India before moving to US? No? I mean, as a student, as,
You know, like I said before, I was a very ordinary student. And at IIT, when I went to IIT, I didn't speak any English. And you had all these people, from Loon Stool and public schools, right, who are very polished. So I had to I was sort of a backbencher. Yeah, I kept quiet, head down, yeah, get by, yeah, didn't speak English, so I was not able to participate in any of the activities, right? So by the time I left IIT, I was very good in math, very good in you know, sciences subjects. I was an electrical engineer. So by the time left India, I was as ordinary, as much of a backbencher as you can imagine. Then you come to US, and I'm starting to speak English because of 4 years at IIT, right? I discovered, the American studies were very simple, very easy for me. I really, did very well in US right away. And so, just to give you a story, we had a reunion last year of the IIT, the class of 1967. Nobody remembered me. They didn't even know I was part of that class. Not one person in that reunion could recall me as a from the IIT days. But I knew them all. Yeah, and so they were very surprised at how well I had done, compared to them. And but so see that tells you a story. That I was as much of a yeah backbencher, as you can imagine, right?
yeah, I as a teacher, I know that class participation is not only by talking. There are some people, they very carefully observe and listen. And I can say that definitely during your student days at the IIT, you must have been a very, I would say, serious listener and observing what's going on. And you moved to the US.
Mm-hmm.
Now, there's so much written about you, your life. I have read it, but I like to hear from you that how you think that you distinguish yourself in the US.
Yeah, so I'm married here. Yeah, I had an American wife. She passed away. Yeah, earlier this year. Yeah, so during my IIT days, yeah, she and I were pen pals. Yeah, she had gone to New York World Fair in 1965 and signed up at the Parker Pen Pavilion to have overseas pen pals. And there was a Times of India ad by Parker Pen, which I filled up the form and sent to have pen pals in the US. And so we were matched in 1966. And so we were writing to each other. There was no thought of ever meeting. She's in America, I'm in India. I come to the US and we are still writing to each other. And we finally meet in 1970. In Fort Lauderdale, in Florida. And it was sort of love at first sight. We met. It was. She liked me. I liked her. Within 2 weeks, I said, "Why don't we get married?"
Beautiful.
Yeah, yeah, and so we did get married a few months later. She said yes eventually, and she was a person who really believed in me. She saw something in me that nobody else saw. She liked my sense of humor. She liked my, she said, these are things she said later. Liked my intelligence, and she thought, that I will go places. She told me much later in life, she assumed that I will, go places, and she did, wanted to be part of that journey. So there was a person, who believed in me very quickly, and eh, I was doing well. I did well, at school here at Michigan Tech, and then I was really doing well at job. You know, I was better than anybody else around me. In anything I was doing. So by 73, 74, I was starting to feel very confident as a person. I was a you know computer designer. My designs always worked. They were flawless. And you know, eh, eh, I will design and stuff will work like that. And so I started to have a reputation of being a very solid, engineer, right?
Very nice.
By late 70s, it was starting, to feel very good. And then I, looked around and said, everybody's becoming entrepreneur here in Silicon Valley. Why not me?
Beautiful.
Yeah. I am better than most of them as an engineer. Silicon Valley was a valley of engineers in 70s. It still is, but 70s it was truly a valley of the nerds. And the saying used to be, "What have you done lately?" And does your stuff work? Your reputation was based upon what you were able to achieve. Technically, right? And so eventually, I had to say, I have to go try my hand, becoming an entrepreneur, which I did in 1982. There's a story there too, right? There were no Indian entrepreneurs. There were no Indian managers, let alone entrepreneurs. There were no Indian, salespeople, no Indian marketing people, no Indian general managers. Indians were, sort of typecast as engineers, techies, nerds, and so we had a good reputation there. But can you take that and become a entrepreneur? Entrepreneur is much more a generalist. He has to be able to sell, market, manage money, manage people, right? And so there was a big transition, and I did that very successfully.
Beautiful.
Mm.
That's exactly. And I've learned that you're also coming up with a new book. I mean, you have been a publisher of many books, and you are coming up with a new book also, maybe in 2026 early.
Yeah, so this is the book, it's sort of memoirs, like I mentioned before, born in 45, India became independent in 47. So my life journey parallels India's journey, right? So it's a story of my life, and then story of India, and then story of Indian Americans arriving in America, starting in mid-60s. So how all of us, sort of had a tentative start and eventually blossomed. India, as you know, it was socialist till 91, almost went bankrupt as a country, and then changed and is blossoming as a power now. And same thing happened to me. As an individual, very ordinary, and all of a sudden I started to blossom in mid 70s. Indian Americans, arrived here in 60s, and now they're CEOs. Of course, professors, doctors, CEOs, and entrepreneurs. So the story sort of makes a nice, back and forth. We did well. We went to India in 90s, to teach the gospel of entrepreneurship. Now India is becoming very entrepreneurial. The Indian entrepreneurs took inspiration from Silicon Valley successes like mine, So this story is, it says that Indians are finally finding their footing. They're finally getting back to where they were, when the British took over in 1800. And when the British took over, India was the largest economy in the world, right? The Indians were the uh, the artists, the technicians, the Hindi word is kalakars, and we did everything. We were the entrepreneurs, and British converted us into sort of yeah, workers. We became the service people, right? And when they left, they left us, uneducated, poverty stricken. So we are sort of bootstrapping ourselves up as a people. That's the theme of the book. Most of us had to bootstrap ourselves up, and there was talent. There was a lack of confidence. That we slowly had to build, and now we have the talent, we have the confidence, and it's just a matter of time now, right? It's a matter of time. India will emerge. It will definitely be among top three countries in the world. Can it be number two? Can it be number one again? And my theory is that India will be number one, not by 1947, maybe by 1977. We have everything. We have the democracy, we have the smart people, we have the resources, we have the confidence. And we'll be back on the top again. That's the thesis of the book.
I have a great faith in what you are saying. I can see that there is a visionary speaking about. So absolutely, I mean, when you say it may not be 2047, it'll be 2077. But I think a momentum is building up in India. And possibly, I mean, we will be at the top and near the top very soon.
Yeah. The problem in India are not the problems that British left behind. The British did what they did to us. The problems in India are the problems of our own making. Our own making. Becoming socialist. A country like India can never be socialist. It's a country of free thinkers, free doers. You have to let people do their thing, right? Socialism, So my basic thesis is that the British left, but they left a system behind, which still is changing, but needs to be changed even faster. Indian bureaucracy is the old British bureaucracy, right? And there's a thin layer of political control on top, but system, is still, what the British built. And British built a system to control Indians, to keep them down, right, rather than let them blossom.
No doubt, you have a very distinguished life journey, and I normally ask my guests a question that at this time, would you like to look back and thank somebody, acknowledge somebody who helped you in your life?
So I mentioned my wife. She was the first person who had 100% faith in me as an individual. She knew I was going to succeed. Even before I thought of that myself. And my mother, was a very much believer in me. She saw the potential. But I now trade my wife mostly for everything happened, because married, she said yes to me on a marriage proposal. After 2 weeks, was a bit morale booster, right? I was, like I said, backbencher, low self-esteem type of person, and here, I was having a beautiful American girl saying yes to me right away, right? And we were married for 54 years, and so it was a pretty solid situation. I had no mentors, I had no role models. I had to dig in deep. I had to dig in very deep inside. And the IIT education prepared me well. IIT's emphasis on first principles, get back to the first principles about everything in life. So I have used those every step of the way in my life. When I became a CEO, yeah, yeah, sales, yeah,
So,
sales going, why aren't people buying? Is my product not good enough? Is it priced too high? Is there no need for the product? I will do simple things like that, and I will check there's a need for this product. It's not priced too high. So why aren't they buying? Maybe they don't know about my product. Oh, so I need to let the world know. So that's where I got back into marketing. How do you let the world? So I will always go back to first principles in everything in life. Finance. I had no background in finance. Same thing. Managing money, managing people. It was always back to first principles. And I
I'm
said,
tempted, yeah, I'm tempted to ask this question. What was your proposal to your wife that she said yes?
well, yeah, so after 2 weeks, we met. We were together for 2 weeks. I said eh, that there's a pressure on me to go back to India, to get married. My parents want to, yeah, yeah, want to, arrange a marriage for me. She says, "You're not going back to India to get married. So what am I going to do? Would you marry me?"
Oh, so the proposal came from her.
No, she no, came from me. Yeah, she said, "You're not going back to India to get married there." So I said, "Well, then what would I do?" Would you marry me? Yeah, and she said, "Let me think." Yeah, and within a week, she said yes.
Absolutely fantastic. It's a wonderful story. Before I let you go, sir, my question is that what message would you like to have for the younger people from India who are aspiring for a great future?
So 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 I became an entrepreneur with no background of business or in the family, right? And so entrepreneurial journey is what I tell people to pursue. Yeah. I use the Hindi word of tapasya. You go out and do tapasya for 3, 4 years, and then you achieve the enlightenment, right? The becoming an entrepreneur is like going on tapasya.
Beautiful.
Very focused, inward looking, drawing the strength from inside. Deep meditation. We having supreme, self confidence, right? 3, 4 years of hardship, yeah, and then you emerge on the other end. So I tell people, this whole Indian concept of doing tapasya is entrepreneurship all about. Get
And
enough thing. Becoming a job holder holds you back. You do somebody else's bidding, and you learn at somebody else's pace. Becoming an entrepreneur, you do your own, and you learn much faster. You learn from your failures. Failures is a learning experience. You haven't failed until you give up. Every time you stumble is a new way, a new lesson in life. And when you're in your 20s and 30s, you can stumble several times and still not, you know, suffer a lot, right? You can take any amount of pain. You just have to have a long-term perspective. So my message always is, take charge, become master of your own destiny. And yeah, spend 3, 4, 5 years of doing your tapasya, and you will emerge as a winner.
this you have used a very profound word from our culture, tapasya for entrepreneurship.
Mm.
Now, what are the challenges that tapasya and how those could be overcome?
Yeah. So here's the thing: you shouldn't expect any respect. You shouldn't expect any support. You shouldn't expect any of that from anybody. As a matter of fact, most people will think you are fool. They have a good paying job. Yeah, they're doing well. They're getting settled down. And here you are, fumbling and mumbling, right? Yeah. So, so, so you have to learn to ignore everything from outside. Yeah. By the way, so let me give you a couple of other points. The Indian middle class ethos are beta डॉक्टर बनो, बेटा इंजीनियर बनो, या बेटा सेटल हो जाओ, या बेटा डिसिप्लिन्ड हो जाओ, right? So all these things are trying to pigeonhole you into one of those stable job situation, married. Yeah, the problem is that they they are encouraging you to don't if becoming an entrepreneur is being indisciplined. You're not settling down. You're not getting a stable job with the NMC. These are things that parents don't approve of, and they will show disapproval, right? You have to learn to ignore all that.
Beautiful, beautiful.
Yeah.
It's a great lesson for the young people, definitely. And sir, I'd like to thank you profusely for giving your time and sharing your wonderful life story, which is going to be highly inspirational for my listeners.
Okay.
I thank you once again and wish you the very best of health and enjoyable years ahead.
Thank you. Thank you. Yes, we'll see you then. Bye.